Hey everyone, hope you are doing awesome. Welcome back to my channel Pega Hut with another video. Thanks everyone for subscribing to my channel, and if you haven't hit the bell icon yet, please do so you won't miss any of my videos. Please hit the like button and leave me a comment or feedback if you like the video or the way I have explained. Today's topic is a continuation of my data access pattern series. So as planned, let's focus today on the snapshot pattern and the system of record pattern. Feel free to watch my part 1 video if you want to learn about reference pattern and also the cascading style. So without doing any further delay, let's get into it. Let us quickly do a quick recap on what we have learned in my part 1 video. In part 1 video, we have learned about the reference pattern. So in the reference pattern, what we learned, we know reference pattern gonna be used when we wanted a list of data to be fetched and shown as part of the drop down or as part of a autocomplete feature, wherein you don't want them to be stored as part of your clipboard page or PY work page, right? So one of the example that we have done in hands-on is showing the list of country, and based on also we have understood about cascading style, wherein we based on the country selection how we show the list of state by passing the parameter and doing a filter out. So we learned all of them. Now, as you know that we got reference pattern, snapshot pattern, and keyed access pattern, alias pattern. So this part 2 video we are going to learn about snapshot pattern and SOR pattern, and SOR pattern, which we also called as system of record pattern. Okay, now let's quickly understand what is this what we are going to learn as part of this video. So we're gonna understand about what snapshot pattern is, we're gonna understand about what SOR pattern is, we're gonna understand the difference between these two pattern and when to use in real time, and also we're gonna do some hands-on, and so that you would understand at what point in time you can use these patterns. Now let's start from the snapshot pattern. So what is a snapshot pattern? So when I say I'm taking a snapshot, that means pretty much I'm telling that I'm taking a photo, right? In Pega world, it's exactly the same way. You are going to take a copy of the data from the source, which is our database, which eventually called the data storage or external data storage. We are going to copy that data to our clipboard page at that point in time. So that what does it mean? That point in time means you are only, whenever it's gonna copy it during that time. If something has changed in the background, then obviously we can't copy that, right? Now this is applicable for both page and page list property, not applicable for the individual property. Now one thing to consider here, it won't load again if the data is changed in the background, right? Unless you are doing it or loading it manually. So when I say loading it manually, that means you need to remove that page or page list property from your PY work page. So next time when it's gonna refer that particular object, automatically it will go and do a fresh load. So this is something that you need to consider while you're doing the design. Now when you need to use this pattern, when you need to have a copy of the data to your clipboard, that's where you're gonna use this pattern. Now let's understand about what is snapshot pattern, right? SOR pattern, which is system of record pattern. So SOR pattern is pretty much same. The only difference is it will copy the data, right? It will copy the data, and let's say you save and close and went back, and then something has changed in the background. So while you reopen the case, it will go and fetch the fresh detail from the backend, and it will try to load to the clipboard page. So this is the difference between snapshot pattern and SOR pattern. This is also applicable to both page and page list property. Now when you're gonna use this pattern, when you have a need to refresh the data, when you just try to reopen the case. So that means you always wanted to see the latest data that is there in the backend, right? Now coming back to the use case, so what we're gonna do is today is we're gonna learn about how to fetch the customer detail based on the customer ID, which we had already discussed in my past video of data pages, and we also gonna show both the pattern and the difference between these two. So without doing any further delay, let's get into it. Before I explain what is the SOR pattern and snapshot pattern, first let me explain about that use case which we already had done. So people who have seen my database series of video, they would know this use case by now. So what I have done is, if you remember, there is this order case where if I'm giving 1 2 3 of customer ID, then I'm getting this detail. Now how I'm getting this detail, if you remember, that what I did is I have basically created this section, and in this section what I did is I've done an action and refresh wherein I put a change event, and in action I have refresh this section by calling this data transform. What this data transform does is it will call this database and it will fetch the first name, last name, date of birth, email ID from this database. This database is nothing but a data type which I have created, which is sitting in the customer detail data type, and the record is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this is what we have achieved. So if you give 4 5 6, you're gonna get it here, right? Now if you remember, so what we had done, we have created this data transform. By using this data transform, we are trying to fetch each and every detail, right? Now how in SOR pattern, let's first understand about snapshot pattern. Now how in snapshot pattern we can achieve this easily instead of writing all these steps. And so to do that, right, so we need to redesign it in a little different way. So what I need to do is, so if you see, this is my if I go to my app explorer and if I expand my order detail, if I expand my users section, so if you see collect info has got an embedded section wherein the context value is going as customer detail, and eventually it is going to this customer detail section. So now first thing first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this customer ID completely here. Okay, now to get rid of this customer ID, and obviously I don't need all this to happen as in refresh this section and wherein I need to call this data transform. So basically I don't need all these things to happen, like refresh this section and calling this data transform, right? So what I need is I just need these details, because I will give the customer ID in a different way. Now I'm gonna delete this one, okay, and I'm gonna check out and then save it. Okay, now this is deleted. Now what I need to do is now go to the collect info, which is my primary case type, right? Here I have got a property called curse ID, right? I'm going to use that property instead here. So in the data capture, just get a text input, and here just use the curse ID. Now whenever I'm going to give this ID customer, I'll just change it to customer ID. So whenever I'm going to give this customer ID, so what I need is I would expect the information to be fetched, right? So that's the reason what I need to do is I'll do, once I give customer ID, I need this bottom things to be populated. So what I need to do is I'll do an action, and then on click of change, what I need to do is I'll do it just refresh this section. Okay, nothing else, right? Now you'd be thinking, okay, I have given the customer ID here. Now if I refresh, how am I gonna get the detail? Because obviously we have removed that data transform everything. So this is where my snapshot pattern will come into picture. Now what is a snapshot pattern? Like I just explained you before. Now snapshot pattern is going to get the details from the data source and going to copy that to your workspace, and snapshot pattern is not going to refresh it again unless you manually do it, right? So it's just gonna load once and it will upload, load into py workspace. And how we gonna do it? Now what is my page name? And I already told you that it can be only happening in page and page list, right? So my page name is over here is customer detail. Now all I need to do is let me open this page. So it is sitting here, customer detail. Now here, as you could see, manual, refer to a database, and copy data from a database. Now snapshot pattern is copy data from a database because we are copying, and SOR pattern will be my refer to a database. Now as part of this session, we are going to understand snapshot pattern. So I'm going to go copy data from database. Now this customer detail belongs to XYZ learn database data hyphen customer detail, right? Now the moment I enter the down arrow, if you could see the database which belongs to this particular data class will be occurring over here. Now d underscore customer detail is coming. Now I'm going to use the same database which I have used in the data transform and try to fetch each and every, right? Now here I'm going to just do is I'm going to refer this database, and so what customer ID I need to pass, where the customer ID has been getting stored, it is getting stored in now in cus ID. So what I'm going to do is I'll say dot and I'll just write cus ID, and I'll just do checkout and save it. Now here, as you could see, optional data mapping. If you wanted to do additional data mapping, you can always use over here. But at the moment, I don't need that. Now I have used that. Now let's quickly run that and see what's happening, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'll create a case. Before that, I'll turn on the tracer. Okay, so I'll turn it again. Yeah, I turn on the tracer. Now what I'm going to do is I'll do a save and run. Okay, before that, I'll just pause it. I'll do a save and run. So let's see what's happening. So I have got class ID, right? Now if you see, if I just unpause, what I'm going to do is, if I'll put 1 2 3, the moment I do tab, can you see the details are coming? Although if you remember, in class ID, what we did, we just did a refresh section, but the details are fetching automatically. How? Because of our snapshot pattern. So here, if I would just quickly show, when this reload happened, the moment it reload happened, that means we have, so basically when this database will be loaded, the moment you refer this object or page, right? Now where we have referred this page, we have referred this page into our collect info here, right? Here, this is where we have referred this page. That means this is the moment it when I so initially when it found, obviously the curse ID was blank, so it couldn't get anything to me. Now the moment I put 1 2 3, the curse ID is no more blank, so it went and when I refresh the section, it could able to find the curse ID, and then what it does is it went to that particular page property and saw that, okay, this page property referring to a database, and then it pulled all the details from the database. Now that's what happened. So if you see, what happened is, if you see the d underscore customer detail, the customer ID is going as 1 2 3, and all the customer details got loaded. Now because this database and this customer detail, they both belong to the same class. That's why you don't need to define the proper individual property. It's gonna automatically set whatever you have got. Now if I'll just quickly show you in the work page, so you see this database got loaded. Now if I quickly show you the work page, right? If I go here, let me pause. Yes, it's paused. Now if I go to clipboard, so if you see, if I expand py workplace, in customer detail, whatever database has got the value, automatically it got set into customer detail. Now as we only have this property to bother, we are just going to show this on the screen, and we're gonna populate that on the screen, and other value we can ignore. Now if I go ahead, I put 4 5 6. Before that, I'll just close this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this up and I'll do a play. Now what I'm going to do is, if I do 4 5 6, now what happened? If you could see, John Smith and Pega, this one has come. Now what happened? Again, it's the same thing. Now if you see here, the moment again it got referred, customer ID 456 is been referred, and it got the database, it called the database, and eventually it populated the value. Once it's loaded, going forward, whenever you are going to refer this fast name, that doesn't mean that it will load all the time, right? It will only load once, right? Now I hope this is clear. Now let's move to SOR pattern. Now what do you mean by SOR
and the
pattern,
reason
and how it is different from the snapshot pattern?
in this
Now if you could see snapshot pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save and close, right? I'll do a let's do one thing. Let's close this one and let's say save, right? Now I close this one. Now if I just quickly, what I'm going to do is I'll change that value, right? Now if you remember, I have put 456. Now if I go to customer detail, in 456, what I'm going to change is, I'm going to change the first name as let's say last name as let's say Smith 1 2 3, right? And I'll do a save. Now I'll go to the app explorer, I'll reopen that case. Now this is the case, right? This is my last case, obviously this is going to be my case. Now if I reopen that case, all right, now I'll do a begin. Now what happened is, so if you see, this 456 now became has got only John and Smith. Although my source has updated, but I could not be able to update my Pega work page. Why? Because that's how the snapshot pattern work. Because it take a snapshot from that point of time and store into py workplace. Now if let's say if you got a requirement wherein If at all I have collected the customer info and I've proceeded further, in my case life cycle, whenever I'm going to close it, save and close and reopen the case, if the customer information has already been updated in the backend, I want them to be reloaded fresh. During this time, you should go for SOR pattern. Now, how do you achieve that? I'm going to show you right here. So you go to customer data, exactly the same way that you have done. What you now need to do is you just need to go for refer to a database. Now refer to a database. Here what you are doing is d underscore customer detail, again same cust ID, so I'm not gonna do any changes. Now the moment I did, I'll go to order detail and I'm gonna do save and run. Okay, so now if I go to 1 2 3, so what you're gonna do is you get C Mishra and this one, right? Now remember this case ID is O-13012. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'll go and save it. Right now, in the meantime, what happened is I have think that I have updated my detail in the backend. So to update my detail in the backend, I'm going to change this to Mr. 123, or let me change my email ID is like sri.mishra@gmail.com. That's what I have changed. Now my requirement is because the case is already created and the case has got old data, and in the backend I have updated my email ID. So when the case will be reopened, I need to see my fresh detail. So because of which, I'll just play the tracer and I'm going to open this one. I'll pause here. Okay, I'm going to clear and play. Because of the SOR pattern, what you're going to do is the moment I click on begin, in the background, what it will do is it will do another fresh call and it will try to get me the latest detail because my data has been updated in the background. That's the beauty of the SOR pattern. Now everything has got its pros and cons. So as you could see, earlier my email ID was XYZ, this one, and now it got updated. Similarly, anything you update in the backend, automatically it will be refreshed. You don't need to manually do anything. Now in snapshot pattern also you can achieve this. How you can achieve this? When you are going to manually delete that object, and then what will happen is when you delete that object from PY workpage, and the moment again you refer, it is again going to go and fetch the fresh detail. So you can do that, but again that needs an additional sets. It has its own pros and cons. Now as you know, pros is obviously it's gonna get you the fresh detail from the backend all the time when you save and close. Okay, when I say all the time, if you are in the same case, you continue and all, it's not gonna do because it's already loaded. It's not gonna do. If you save and close, that's where when you reopen the case, that's the point where it's gonna load. Now what is the con? Let's say what if I haven't done any changes to my detail, right? Now what will happen? Let's see what happens. So I cleared the data page and I'm going to 13012. Okay, now I haven't done any changes to my detail. Now the moment I open, would it reload? Let's see. The moment I open, you got the detail. Did it reload in the backend? Let's have a look. It would definitely would have reloaded in the backend. So if I go here, so as you could see, d underscore customer data page load begin, loading in thread scope. So it again reloaded. So that is the cons. So for example, sometimes if your data is very heavy, and then you obviously don't want it to be loaded automatically if there is no changes, right? So during that time, it will be very costly. So you need to design this in such a way wherever you wanted to load the data, which is a mandatory thing. That's where you need to do. Else what you can do is you can go for snapshot pattern wherein you load for the first time, and then if there is a place where okay, at this point you need to reload, then you can remove the data object in snapshot pattern and then do a fresh reference so that it will automatically load the data. So this is how you can achieve depending on the requirement. So everything has its pros and cons. You just need to see what is your requirement and how this kind of pattern can fit into your requirement, right? Now one thing is for sure that this saves a lot of coding. So if you remember earlier what I did is I have called it, refresh this section, I have called a data transform. In the data transform, I have written 5 lines of code wherein I have got every time I refer the data page and got the details and then manually mapped it. But by doing this kind of SOR or snapshot pattern, what we need to do is, I don't need to do anything. All I need to do is place it in a proper place so that it will auto load, and then I can use that in my entire process. Now I hope you understood about both SOR pattern and the snapshot pattern, and I hope you understood about the pros and cons. So make sure you understand and use it wisely. That's it for today, and hope you understood clearly. Please hit the like button if you learned something or you like the way I have explained, and leave me a comment if you have any queries or feedback for me. It will help me to improve and also motivate me to post more concepts and videos. As I always tell, sharing is caring, so do share with others so people who do not know about my channel will be benefited. Stay tuned for my next video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do subscribe and click on the bell notification for my new video updates. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.